worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kinda funny, I find it kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to...
Well, boys, that's that. We had a good run, huh? It's the time of the RM monk is dead. Time of upwelling has begun. So yeah. The nerf was obviously devastating. In case any of you haven't heard, the new nerf came out, so it's no longer 2 seconds anymore for RM. It's now you can only extend a hot up to 100% of its original duration. And in case you maybe think that's good, because the way they phrase it is kind of awkward, let me just be extra clear and really explain it to you. A 20-second hot can only ever be extended to 40 seconds of lifetime. So you can only ever extend an RM hot 5 times. 5 times 4, 20, right? Hard quick maths. This means that if the cooldown of Renewing Mist is 9 seconds, that without doing anything fancy, your average Renewing Mist out is 4.44 if you cast it on cooldown, and you have the right amount of haste to even keep them up. Obviously, 4.44 is not good, and nobody's beating an Upwelling Monk. Obviously, this is just one example, but pretty much the rest of the picture is the same. A lot of people are experimenting with a lot of different things, but right now, Rising Mist just looks like a lot of work for about the same amount of reward as Upwelling if played perfectly, which is not good, right? You should obviously do more healing if it's played perfectly because it's harder, simply put. But that's just not the way it is. You can extend an enveloping mist from 7 to 14 seconds, and the essence fonts hots can go from, I believe, 12 to 24 maybe, or 8 to 16. I mean, it's hardly worth talking about because they don't do much. I guess their best use now is kind of their original use, which was doubling mastery. Okay, so if your goal in the game is to be competitive and do good HPS, I would highly suggest just going upwelling and calling it a day. If you absolutely hate upwelling with a passion, then I guess the rest of this video is for you. So here's the only way you can do relevant healing. We have been seeing some members of my community have pretty okay success with stacking ITs. You get the azerite trait, Fawn of Life. You use Thunder Focus T on all of your Renewing Mist now. You use a lot more Essence Fonts, obviously, if you're going to get Fawn of Life. And that's the way you play. Essentially, the idea is that the cooldown reduction makes Thunder Focus T come off cooldown a lot more. That in turn puts up 30-second Renewing Mist instead of 20 seconds. Those 30-second Renewing Mist can be extended to 1 minute because 100% of 30, got it. Yeah, also, Font of Life. Every time Essence Font heals, it reduces the cooldown of TFT. And then ITs will also reduce the cooldown of Font. So there's some good synergy going here. A little bit of juice. It's obviously going to use a lot more mana than the old build. There's almost no reason to use Enveloping Mist anymore because 14 seconds of Enveloping Mist is pretty garbage as far as efficiency goes. So the best parsers I've seen so far with RM after the nerf have been people doing exactly as I said and getting about 6 to 7 Renewing Mist out. And so 6 to 7 is about where you can start beating upwelling pretty well. Um, I would kind of think of it like this: if right as the base, you can't beat upwelling. You have to mix in some of that stuff that I was saying. If you do all that, and you can increase your average to 5, you can tie them. But you really, really, really need ITs, inevitable truths, the corruptions, to push yourself past that threshold if you want to do more than an upwelling monk. And obviously, you're putting in 3 times the effort. You need a special gearing requirement. You still need a lot of haste, by the way. So the haste requirement, guys, it went down a little bit, right? Obviously, we don't need 120% average combat haste. The number, everybody's got different numbers. It really depends on how good you are. But if you're looking for like a good benchmark number, I would say like 60% average combat haste is what you need right now. And that assumes that you're going to get a few resets, right? If you're just brain dead and you can't manage to get any resets, you need 70% combat haste. Okay? Now, if you've got some ITs and you're a very good player, you might be able to get away with as low as 55, 50%. Why is this even worth talking about? Well, it means that you can build other combat stats because a lot of your healing is going to come from Vivify. And in theory, Vivify doesn't get any extra healing from haste, right? Um, and by that I mean it's like conversion rate, right, from healing done to mana spent. Um, so yeah, RM healing is kind of a little bit relevant now. So like the extra haste helps a little bit with that. Haste obviously still helps Essence Font a little bit with the hots, but not the actual healing. But yeah, you kind of just want to get to that soft cap of haste now, where you can reliably extend your renewing mist to 40 seconds each time, and that's going to be how you play. Um, Oh, also, let's talk about a few talent changes, right? Um, so, because you don't really use Enveloping Mist anymore, that makes Mist Wrap pretty much garbage, right? So, a lot of people have been taking Chi Burst. It's probably the best idea, given the circumstances. Um, and Mana Tea is probably better than Spirit of the Crane, I would imagine now. Right, so you can really burst out some things, and obviously you're gonna want to Mana Tea a bunch of Essence Fonts and whatnot. If you use Mana Tea during an IT and then you Essence Font, I believe you can reduce the cost of 2 Essence Fonts if you have enough IT. So there's that. There are kind of all little, really, really small min-maxy things you guys can do if you have a bunch of ITs, right? Um, and then, of course, I'm talking about Noble Truths. Refreshing Jade Wind is seeing some play again because if you're stacked up in the melee clump, it's kind of a way to use your mana outside because obviously, you know, 5 to 6, 7 rims aren't going to quite get the job done. So some people have been mixing in that, and I think that's fair on certain fights, right? But yeah, that's about all I can really think of. The whole idea is that you're just trying to use Essence Font to reduce the cooldown of TFT. TFT throws up a longer rim, and so you're artificially sort of trying to increase that window, that duration that rims are out, right? Um, I really didn't want to make this video, but I think there are still some people that maybe aren't aware of the nerf or are just waiting for me to sort of, you know, come from the heavens and somehow magically conjure up a new build that makes them OP. And there's just it's just like a exercise of like that I'm not really trying to do. Like it's like a mental exercise. Theory crafting this dead spec is not really what rustles my jimmies, shall we say. So this should make you functional if you can pull it off. If you really, really hate upwelling. But honestly, fighting upwelling at this point is kind of weird. But yeah, there's a couple members of my community that are dead set on making RM work. Hey, and if they can, cool, more power to them. Obviously, still with the right gear, I would say RM can beat upwelling, so there is some hope. But I mean, Blizzard did make a good nerf in one way. They brought it down to upwelling, but the problem is upwelling is the weakest healer in the game. So yeah, there's a million ways, there's a million things we could talk about that they could have done, and they failed us yet again. And I just don't feel like it's worth talking about it because they clearly don't listen. They don't care about anybody's opinion. I mean, I wasn't the only one in the community who had plenty of good ideas. They listened to nobody. They just went with their own idea, which was, hey, 100% of duration. Block it. It's good. Get it done. Is there anything else? Uh, I doubt. I mean, life cycles is not good enough to. I feel like to use. If this 25% is like okay, if this was like 35, 40, maybe we could start to make kind of a build around it. But I think it just has too much restriction, and almost never are these spells really following each other. So there's not really any play there. Yeah, it's just the old build with essence fonts mixed in, guys, with font of life, the azerite trait, trying to reduce Thunder Focus T's cooldown, use Thunder Focus T on longer renewing mist, get some ITs. You still need a little bit of haste, right? So make sure you have just enough haste to always see the maximum extend. And I guess that's it. I'm trying to think of any other corruption combos, guys. If you guys think of anything, by the way, feel free to let me know in my Discord. It'll be in the description below. Or feel free to message me. There are some members of my community that are pulling some okay numbers. People that are doing like 140k on Shadhar, so it's still decent. It's not obviously our 300k plus we used to do, but that is good enough to get your raid spot. Honestly, it's you check the box. So yeah, I guess I'll end it here. So feel free to hit me up if you guys have any questions. But I will not be making any more Rising Mist videos about BFA, in my opinion. So yeah, I think this is it. We had a good run. This was a good expansion for me personally. I got to make 2 really OP builds, so I'll count that as a win. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of hate from the community, but there was also a lot of love. So uh, yeah, Glimmer and I guess we could call it what, Haste Rising Mist or Haste Weaving. It was a lot of fun. So yeah. Here is to Shadowlands, and hopefully coming up with more busted shit that makes Blizzard completely have to nerf the hell out of it. Alright, take care, guys.